Hello, this is Charlotte, and welcome to the Heartland Political Science Podcast.
Hello, this is John Fischer. I'm director of the Normal Public Library.
We're interviewing John today to hear a little bit more about what he does and what the library means to our community. So first, John, how did you come to get involved at the Normal Public Library?
Sure, Charlotte. It's a long story, but it starts back in the early 90s. I was a shelver and a paraprofessional at the St. Louis County Library in St. Louis, Missouri. So I kind of fell in love with libraries there. Hopped around to different places, went to school, some different places, learned some different things, and ended up at the Bloomington Public Library in the early 2000s. I was a part-time employee there, and I ended up going to library school at the U of I while I was there. Got a full-time job at Bloomington, graduated from the U of I, was teen librarian, manager of adult services and circulation and outreach services, which is their bookmobile at Bloomington, spent 10 years at Bloomington. And then an opportunity opened up at Normal Public Library. A colleague of mine pointed me to that opportunity. I applied, and then I became manager of adult services and circulation at the Normal Public Library. Last year, our director moved to a position in Florida. And so the director position opened up at the Normal Public Library, and I interviewed for that in December and was appointed the position in January.
That's awesome. That's very impressive. You have a long list of different library things and how you've just been able to serve many different communities. So that's wonderful. So what do you do in your role now?
So sure, my current role as director, I lead the library. We have a management team that leads along with me. We're very much a team-oriented culture. It's a learning culture. But my primary role is to administrate all of the resources of the library: staff, space, time, budget, all of our finances, and I coordinate that leadership with the Board of Trustees. We have a 7-member elected Board of Trustees at the library, and we work together to move the library forward and collaborate with our community.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite part of your job?
I think the favorite part of my job is meeting people in the community. So speaking with folks in the community, but also just stopping on the floor at the library and speaking to people and hearing their concerns, speaking with them about their concerns, and sometimes and often finding solutions for those concerns. Maybe it's an issue or a problem. Maybe it's a book they're not finding or a service that we don't offer, and figuring out how we can fill that and help them out.
Yeah, I know the library has really evolved, especially since COVID. I feel like you've been able to do more. And I remember when the DVDs got reorganized, that was amazing. So I love just seeing what's new and changing the library and getting to meet all the librarians. They're always so kind. So how does the library affect the town?
So that's a complex question, and I like it a lot. We strive so much to be a resource for the community, not just educational, but recreational as well. As you are well aware, the library offers wonderful collections of books and DVDs and books on CD and CDs and digital collections from our website as well. But we also offer programs around holidays, programs around days Unit 5 is closed. We can offer recreational and educational opportunities for the community to enjoy our space and to enjoy the programming that we offer. As you said, we have some very talented librarians. So I think in general, it's to improve the quality of life for the community of Normal. We're very much a learning community with so many universities and colleges in town. Mm-hmm. People want to grow and learn, and we can be a resource for that in our community. We want to be a place where people find what they're looking for as well.
Mm. Yeah. So along that same note, what do you hope to change in our community?
If I had to pick one thing, Charlotte, I would say library advocacy. I think what happens is we work so hard at the library to fill the role as public library, and people appreciate that, and they even talk about it and love it. But advocacy in general, I think, lacks, and it's something that we're all responsible for. So I would say, if I could change anything in our community, I would say it's the ability of our community as a whole, each individual community member, and their sort of their will to advocate for the library. What does the library need? And I think it starts with us. I think it starts with the library. Does everyone in our community understand what the library offers? Does everyone in the community understand what the library stands for and how we serve so many people in our community in different ways? And once the community knows that, I think they'd feel more empowered and educated to advocate on our behalf.
What would advocating look like, in your opinion?
I think talking to other community members, speaking with their neighbors, speaking with their family members, even things as simple as, making a post on social media and saying, hey, look what we did over the weekend at the Normal Public Library. You can do this too, that sort of thing. But also finding ways that they can support the library, either by word of mouth or even financially. So if someone is interested in donating to the library financially, they can contact the foundation, and they can advocate in that way. They can advocate with their dollars. So I think there's many ways, and it looks different for everyone. Everyone has a part to play in strengthening and building our public library.
Thank you for explaining that. That makes a lot of sense, and I love that there's kind of a role for everyone.
I think there is.
So, what is a new project that you or the library as a whole is currently working on?
Sure. So we're currently working on a couple things. I think two of the most important things we're working on is one is our strategic plan. So it kind of ties into the previous question. What is it the library aims to do in the next 2 to 3 years? What are our top goals? And then once we identify those, not only with staff and the community and the Board of Trustees, then we determine ways that we can accomplish that. And then we have to figure out the metrics. How do we measure what we're accomplishing over those next 2 to 3 years? But that initial conversation is crucial. We need to look at what we've been working on for the last couple of years and decade, and determine whether or not that's worth continuing. And then we need to determine what are the strategies we want to work on moving forward. And they may be very similar to our current strategy, but they may be different. We may take a turn and try to address an issue that we have found or that the community has brought to us. That's one, strategic planning. And that lasts a long time, and we're really in the initial stages of that. It's probably going to last the next year. Hopefully, we'd be finished by this time next year. The other project is the abatement of asbestos in our building. So the library has asbestos above the ceiling. It's currently of no danger to anyone in the community. We have air quality testing going on periodically, and as long as we don't get above the ceiling tiles and mess around up there, we are safe. And rest assured, we are not doing that. So our project is to abate that asbestos. There's a couple reasons why we need to do that. I'll be perfectly clear. Some libraries in Illinois, well, nationwide, just have older buildings and they have asbestos in them in different ways, and they just leave that asbestos because if undisturbed, it doesn't cause trouble. The reason why we can't do that, or we feel we can't do that, is because we need some major upgrades to our facility. Our facility hasn't had a major network upgrade for all of our connectivity in more than 20 years. Wow. Our library hasn't had a Wi-Fi update in some time, and we need to update Wi-Fi rapidly, quickly, to support the many users that come in to study and connect their devices. We also need to upgrade our lighting. Lighting is a little antiquated at the library. We're all on fluorescent. There's no LED lighting. So the lighting is poor, and we want to improve that. And in order to do that, we need to abate the asbestos so that we can get in there. And that's not, it's not a glamorous thing to do, but it seems to us a necessary thing to do. So along with that abatement of asbestos, we also want to just get in there and make some improvements to the library in terms of, like I said, lighting, floor covering, wall coverings, and make those improvements so that the community can embrace the space that we have. The library is a treasured community resource, and we are stewards of that resource, so we feel it's important that we maintain it and keep it updated so that our community can continue to enjoy it for years to come.
I think that if there's one thing to take away, it's just the library is that treasured resource, and that we're all stewards of it. And I think all the patrons that come in have a role to play as well. So I'm so glad that you touched on that. Is the library still considering moving locations then? I feel like there was something in the works, or are you going to remodel now?
Well, I would say to that both. Obviously, the key project, the focus now and the priority in terms of budget and time and space ultimately is the renovation and the asbestos abatement. It's really important that we move forward with that. I would say that would probably buy us anywhere between 10 and 20 years at our current space, and that's probably debatable, certainly. But as you repeated, it's a treasured resource, and we need to invest time and some funds in that resource. However, we are still looking at other locations. But to be clear, there's no identified space, there's no identified design, and there's no identified budget for that. So that's a project that's in the future, but I have meetings about that, I would say, every month, and it's important that we focus on that future, but it is far out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we'll have some changes coming to the library. Even if we're not moving right now, we'll have some new exciting things to look forward to. For our last question, you said that you got involved a long time ago, right? In the 90s, I think you said,
yes.
In St. Louis. How would someone get involved now at the library if they only have an hour or two a week, they don't have much time, but they really want to get involved? What would you recommend?
Well, I hope you see this answer as legitimate, but my honest response to that is use the library. Simply use the library. From time to time, our library will offer opportunities for folks to volunteer, and we really appreciate that. Typically, it's us reaching out to an organization and looking for specific help rather than a day-to-day need, since we are equipped with the staff that we need to accomplish the daily services of the library. But being involved at the library, for me, means using the library. And like I said, when you use that resource, the simple act of applying for a library card and having that card in your wallet so that you can use it, so that you use the space, although a library card is not required for that, use the space, use the resources, visit the website and download a book or a movie or an album that you want to listen to from our digital collections. Any way that you can use the library is being involved because you're participating in that public resource. You know, everyone who lives in Normal pays taxes towards the library. Those property taxes fund our library. We have a very small portion, 3% of our library is funded by state grants every year, but the majority, 97%, is from property taxes. So if you're paying property taxes and you're not using this public resource in any way whatsoever, I would encourage you to do that. It's a wonderful resource. Libraries are not dead. People are still reading books. It's amazing how much people are reading. Our circulation on whole continues to go up. We have well over 500, 600 visitors a day. It's a very well visited resource in our community. Our parking lot is busier than ever, and we are so happy to meet people wherever they are in our community. We offer services outside the library. We've been at events here at Heartland, at Illinois State. We attend events all over town and oftentimes in Bloomington, the farmers market. And we just want to serve the community. We want to do our best to meet people where they are and offer them what it is they're looking for.
You got me thinking because in the Political Science Club, we talk a lot about exercising our right to vote, but it's also exercising our right to go to the library.
Sure.
And so I just think that's, I love reading, and so I think that it's wonderful that you touched on that and kind of explained that to us. So thank you so much for your time today and coming on the podcast. I hope that everyone is enjoying listening to this, and we appreciate all of our listeners.
Thank you for listening to the Political Spectrum podcast. The podcast is hosted by the leadership of the Political Science Club at Heartland Community College. The club meets every Monday at 10 o'clock in WDC 1006. Tune in again for another interview.